Right, well, I'm back from my break. It's been a couple of weeks since the album came out. I decided to take some time off so I could start putting together new material and recuperating. For video stuff, I do have a couple of ideas in the back of my mind, but I'm still trying to put it all together. So in the meantime, I'll continue back with the breakdown series I've been doing, and I'll talk about the next song on the list. That's Visions. Visions is one of my favorite songs in the demo, sort of in its own kind of way. The music, to me, it's not that special, you'll see in a bit, and the lyrics themselves aren't spectacular, but what I really enjoy about the song is how everything comes together, especially with the story and the way it's told. So I'm going to start with the guitar parts. It's basically just one riff plus a lead. This is the fastest song on the album. I think it's 190 BPM, and it just starts off running. The main riff is very simple. It's a quarter note followed by tremolo pickings. It's E minor, C5, D sus4, B flat 6 to B5. Notice that the G on the 10th fret here, it basically holds as a pedal point throughout most of the riff. So the lead is this melody with G and F sharp, and the bass line just follows the chord progression. So I have E, and I play the open E, I think, to C. To D, I slide up, and then we add that little slide up to the A right there for the B chord. So the song basically continues like this until the chorus. The only difference is that the riff, the first quarter note for each riff, is a harmony with F sharp instead of G, so you get this. The whole song repeats once, and then at the end of the second chorus we get this build up into the drums, and then that leads into the halfway point where we hit this transition and the song just flips. The tempo cuts to halftime at about 85, and the song turns into one of the slowest in the album. It plays out like this all the way to the end, just very similar to the chorus riff. And that just goes on and on and on until the song's over. So overall, it is fair to say that the entire song is based on one riff, and part of that's related to the story. This is also one of those minimalistic guitar pieces where the song is more about what happens between the riff and the rest of the parts, especially the drum patterns and how it all builds up through the course of the song. So the lyrics to the song are pretty straightforward. I'm just going to jump right in and explain what everything means as I go along. I won't really point out rhymes anymore. I might put a bit of emphasis when I read them out, but they should really be obvious. If you are going to hunt for the rhymes, one thing to look for is not just rhymes at the end of each line or between consecutive lines, but to look at, really how the words interact with one another across different sections or maybe verses, choruses, and so on. So the story takes place in this dreamlike state, and it's really about this main character, this person, and how he interacts with his own subconscious. So the first line of the song: I see a vision distorted, a figure contorted beyond comprehension. I gaze into his eyes to see that they had died. I looked away from the water. So he encounters this mangled and twisted body with a blank stare on its face before he realizes it's his own reflection in a pool of water. The next section: I hear a cryptic plea, chorus of twisted screams, begging for forgiveness. I press against my ears, no silence would appear until I closed my lips at last. So he's assaulted by these screams that he can't drown out until he closes his lips to reveal that he's the one that's screaming. So, sensory, possessed I cannot see, blinded by the visions I wander aimlessly. Sanctuary, corrupted by the weak, the echoes of the past, they haunt eternally. We have sight and we have sound from before, Now we reveal that he's trapped in this place where he's the only one around with no direction. One of the key phrases here is the idea of sanctuary corrupted by the weak, which is referring to himself. This is supposed to be a safe haven, but instead he's haunted by his own demons. So originally this was all just the lyrics to part 1, and the song was supposed to transition straight into part 2, the slow section. But I didn't feel like I was getting enough out of it, so eventually I decided to extend it, add another verse and another chorus. So the lyrics here: I see a million phantoms, minions in tandem, mock my sorrow and torment. I hear the degradation, a thundering resonation, as I'm swallowed by the torrent. So we have this idea of sight and sound again. He's being tortured by his own demons. Another reason I extended this is for the next chorus. I couldn't decide between the uses of the words sensory, sanctity, sanctuary, and solitary. I had this list different verses that I wrote out, and I couldn't pick which ones I wanted to focus on, so I decided to just use all of them. And the second chorus is very much linked to the first one lyrically. So sanctity, possessed by demon seed, lost among the visions, I wander endlessly. Solitary, a prisoner of my dreams, the remnants of the past concealed internally. So now the person understands he's trapped in his dreams, everything slows down and it starts to get drawn out. What happens with the lyrics, and one of the reasons why I like this song so much, is before we had the story going one way, after this transition, the story is told backwards from section to section. So the first part of the lyrics: I placed my hand against the door, but it would not yield. A voice echoed through the walls. These halls are sealed forever. So this person, he calls out, he tries to leave. We get this death growl that responds. And the voice that echoes through the halls is the same as the thundering resonation from the piece before where he's swallowed by the torrent. Now, I pled for one more chance, a pledge to live without regret. In response, it called in jest, what is past is in the past. So here we have this voice calling out in jest, a reference to the million phantoms, the minions in tandem, as they mock his sorrow and torment. I walked away in self-reflection, recognition of my vanity. In agony I wept and swept away in silence. So that last piece, the verse, it's the second part of the first verse. I hear a cryptic plea, chorus of twisted screams, that he is the one responsible for making. And now it's revealed that the reason he's screaming is because of just this agony he feels, this feeling of regret that he has. And it's really what the song is about. And then the final verse: I sat down by the fountain, peering over the edge. I gazed into the water and saw my eyes were dead. So we're back to the beginning, and it should be obvious as to what section of the lyrics that's referencing to. So overall, this is Visions, very straightforward song, but the story is a little bit complex. And musically, the way the song builds, it's really the song that you're going to headbang to if you're listening to the demo.